All right, let's stop the computer. I mean, close the computer. I mean, you guys won't need it for another half an hour or 45 minutes. Um, let's talk about a new topic today. Before we go there, so any question so far? What we discussed yesterday, day before yesterday, or last week, whatever. Anything that you have question for? I know you guys are working through XML exercise. Work through that, and we'll review on Thursday. Okay, because you guys all will be here on Thursday. Uh, Coming Thursday and the Thursday after long weekend as well. But any question or anything? All right, so let's talk about automation today. Okay. So today's we'll discuss. You guys will get familiar with a little bit about the automation. You will actually work through the exercises and build the actual automation test. Okay, that's our goal by today. But main tool we will be using is UFT, which used to be QTP. Okay. So there are a bunch of tools out there in the market, and we'll go over what's available and what's different between UFT, what's these other tools as well. Okay. And when we come back, not this next Saturday, not this next Saturday, but the Saturday after that, we'll talk about Ruby Cucumber and see how it's different than the UFT, how we use it differently. Okay. Um, so let's see what we got today. So our goal is to understand automation testing, get some hands-on experience, and actually write some automation tests before you go home today. So you guys understand the definition of automation? What is automation in general term? Okay, I'm not talking about testing sort of thing, right? So you are basically uh, use some type of tools, right, or something that can automate whatever you are doing manually, right? That's what basically is automation is about. It's kind of like a general definition. It's mainly unskilled and repetitive and redundant tasks. Because if you're doing over and over again, you're gonna get bored. And hopefully, you guys understand now, based on what you did over last 3 weeks, right? What is really that repetitive, and how much interesting that work is. Hopefully, that's what you are getting the idea, right? But if you are to execute the certain things over and over again, or write the test cases over and over again, that's something you're gonna get bored. Okay, so that's a good candidate for automation. Certain things. All right. Now, in the software testing world, um, it involves automating the manual process of testing. That is our main goal. So think through what is that you are doing manually. Let's understand this line further, right? Automating a more manual process of testing. So can we automate everything in the testing side of things? Can we automate anything? So think through. I mean, we went through SDLC phase, right? And there are several things that you are doing as part of every phase, everything. So if you look at start with the first phase, requirements or analysis, right? Let me write down five things here, right? We have design. What we have? Implementation, testing, maintenance, and we have planning in the first. Okay. Think through what is that you are doing, right? As part of every phase. Yeah. You guys are not doing anything here, right? There is nothing for you to do any automation on. What about requirement analysis? Are you guys doing anything, right? So you are reviewing. Okay. So review of the documents. Do you think that's something you can automate? The review process? No. Right? So you still have to use your human judgment, understand, analyze the requirements, and come up with a test plan. You can't really automate anything here. Okay, so this is something you can't automate. What about the design side of things? Again, you're gonna be doing the reviews similar, right, to the review. You can't really automate anything here. Okay. What about the implementation phase? What is that you guys are doing in the implementation phase? Tell me the activity that you are doing, right? Don't forget, okay, these are fundamental things. These are the things that you are doing. But what you guys, when the developers code, right? What is it? You are not sitting around. What is the activity that you're gonna do?
Test plan.
Test plan, right? Actually writing the detailed test cases and those things. So test cases, scenario. Do you think you can automate any of those things? Writing a test plan, test scenarios, anything, right? So here, even though you are doing a lot of things, you probably will not be able to automate any of those. Right? So you still have to think through, produce the actual test cases and everything. So this is very important work that you are doing, right? What about the testing phase? What is that you are doing here? But what does it mean when you say testing, right? I'm doing testing, but what is that you are doing actually? So you are executing it, right? All your test cases that you wrote here, now you have working software, so you will actually start executing the test cases. So here, it's the execution. Right? Is there anything you can automate here? Maybe you can leverage some tools here, as part of the execution process. Once you write it, then you can, because this is the one that gets repeated. If you have a bug here, right, you're gonna create the bugs and defects and everything. You're gonna send it back to the developers. They will fix it. You will go and execute again. So this becomes a repetitive task. Okay, as part of your process. So far, what you have done is not really repetitive. You're gonna read probably documents maybe 2 times and 3 times, and you are good. Okay, here you will write the test cases only once, or maybe you enhance it afterwards. Okay, so there is not much repetition here, but you might be executing the test cases 50 times over the life of the product. Okay, same test cases, and you want to guarantee the result comes same. Result is same every time you execute. Okay, so this is a good candidate for automation here. Okay, when once you execute it, and we will look at further how actually we can do it and what parts we can actually execute later on. The last phase, maintenance. You can. Is there anything for you guys to do? It's a defects reported, right, or bugs reported in the production environment, and it probably will test once or twice, and you are done. You're not gonna run test in production environment. Okay? So here, you probably will not be able to execute or automate anything. Okay? So out of this, right? So your 30. This is the 30% of your work as a QA. Okay. This is everything else is 70%. Of your job role. This is 30%, and so 30% of the work you can automate if you want. Okay. So this is what we are looking at from the automation perspective. We're gonna focus today on this part. Okay, how can we automate this? Okay, so when we say it involves automating manual process, that's the phase we are focusing on. Okay. Now let's understand what is really involved when we say actually automate the execution. Okay. So when we talk about the automation software, it's going to simulate our behavior. Okay, anything that we do, automation's primary job is to simulate user behavior. Remember what you are doing when you are executing tasks manually. Does anybody remember what you guys are doing? When let's say when you are writing the test, when you are executing the test, what are the things that you are doing with the application? What is it?
Input.
You are inputting some data, right? Think through what actions you are doing with the application. You follow your steps. As part of the steps, you're gonna input some data, and you're gonna take some action on it, right? Those are the only two things you are doing. And third thing you are doing is comparing the actual versus what was expected outcome, right? So you have to automate that process using the tool. That's what you have to build as part of the automation tool. Okay. So as we discussed, right? So we visually identify certain things on the page. We input some data, and then 99% of the time, you're either gonna click it or type something with your keyboard, right? So we'll provide instruction as part of the automation tool to do the same thing. And finally, we'll give some instruction as well so that they can compare the actual output with the expected output as using the automation tool. Okay, so that's what we are talking about when you say automation test. You have to simulate the user behavior for the same thing. Okay. Any question on this slide? Okay. Now the way automation tool works, right? How do you simulate user behavior, right? That's where the question comes now. We know we have to input some data and click on some buttons, right? So some of the automation tool, they have playback record and playback capabilities. Okay, so you record the user actions or predefined actions, and then you can play back the same action, and then you supply what is expected versus actual outcome. So that's a comparison that we will build. But again, success or failure is the same as manual test. What makes an automation test successful? Expected versus actual has to match. That's what it will pass or fail the automation.
This is not in a binder, right?
It's there, but the slides are a little bit in the back.
Okay.
But there. Okay. So this we will see how the UFT does it. Okay, and then when we come back after break, we'll see how the Ruby Cucumber does it. Okay, differently. Now, this slide talks about why the automation testing tools, right? So I think we already talked about some of these things here. The repeatability gets boring and all type of things. I'm not going to spend much time. So let's talk about a little bit more. Okay. So repetitive execution, right? So what is a good candidate? Can I automate all the test cases that I wrote, or do I need to do subset of what I'm executing, right? So typically, you probably won't automate all the manual test cases. Okay, whatever you wrote, you still have to do manual testing. But what gets repetitive in the execution? And this is what the regression testing is basically. That becomes more and more repetitive. You guys remember the definition of regression? Right? If something changes in the software, you're going to end up retesting the whole functionality. And when you say retesting, you have to go and execute all the test cases that was affected by that functionality. Okay, so that's part of the regression testing, so that they are good candidate for automation tests. So not all manual tests are good candidates. Okay, only the regression testing scenario. Let's talk about some of the tools out there. Okay. You guys have it in the next week's session, so all the slides, okay? But it says there in your binder somewhere. So there are several tools in the market, and I think some of you probably heard about a lot of different tools. I think if you are working in the technical side of, IT industry or basically some other role, you probably heard most of the tools. Okay, um, but this is Selenium, Water. Those two are open source tools, so you don't pay anything to use them. There is a my tool from Microsoft, which is a coded UI. Okay, so there is a coded UI. So UFT, coded UI, test complete, rational functional tester, and silk test. So these are more like a record and play. So you record something and then play back. That's how you're going to execute automation. There is some scripting involved. This tools below. Okay, not I'm not talking about top two tools. Okay, these tools here. There is some scripting knowledge involved. Either you leverage a VB script or some J script or C++ script, something depending on the tool. Okay, they are script, so they are not full-blown programming languages, but there is some type of programming involved. Now, when you talk about the Selenium and Water, it's 100% programming. There is no record and play capability. So you have to learn some programming, whether you have to learn Ruby or you learn Java or you learn C# or some other programming in order to use these two tools. Okay? So, but with the record and play capabilities, you can get away with programming knowledge, much programming knowledge here. Okay? So you don't have to use much programming knowledge. As long as you are able to interpret the syntax and maybe able to fix it, if something is wrong, then you are good with this one. But these two you have to learn. Now these tools are free, so that's why companies are going towards free stuff. Everybody likes free, right? Uh, we, but here, these guys cost a lot more. Okay, as I said, the seat here. If you have one license, it's gonna cost you $10,000 to $20,000 for UFT. So what we install on your machine, it's a 30-day trial version. But if you have to really buy the license, you're gonna end up paying about $10,000 to $20,000. Okay, per computer. Smart Bear is kind of like a work similar to the UFT. So if you pick up this one, which we're gonna do today, you can download and play around with this tool as well. The Smart Bear Test Complete. This tool is getting very popular as well because it supports multiple scripting languages. UFT supports only VB.NET. Okay, that's the only one scripting language. But Test Complete has a bunch of scripting language support. So if you look at the retail industry here, Asina Retail, they are heavy on Test Complete side of things. Okay, but some of the big companies like Nationwide, they invested so much money in this scripts here, they still use it. Okay, but they are moving away to Selenium Water, and there is another tool. Recently, they started playing around, which is Tosca. Okay, unfortunately, we can't even get a license for Tosca. So, but it works similar to the one of the record and play type of tools. So, what I would suggest is once you learn this one, right, UFT, go and download this Test Complete over next 2 weeks. Okay, there are a bunch of videos and those things, and you should be able to pick that up. It's no brainer. It works very similar to UFT tool.
Okay. How about Cucumber? Is it part of the tool or?
Cucumber is a part of the technology set, but it is kind of like a part works with the Selenium and Water. Works with the Selenium and Water. Okay. And we'll go over where the Cucumber fits in next Saturday. Next, whenever you guys come back. Okay. Any question on the tools? These are some of the popular ones. Okay. So let's talk about UFT now, since we are here to see where UFT fits in, or what are the different features we can use from UFT. Okay. So UFT is kind of like a testing tool from HP. It was from HP. Now it's they sold it, I think, 2 years ago to Micro Focus, so it's from Micro Focus now. Okay. This slide is a little bit old. And the latest version is obviously 12.x, whatever the version is, I think 12.9 or something like that. What we install is the version 12.0. Okay, that's what you guys have. But they haven't changed much since latest version to, if you compare the version that you have, it looks very similar, functions very similar. As I said, right, you need a VB scripting basically, and we'll go over some of the syntax as well, VB script and those things. But that's what it utilizes, VB scripts here. And why it's popular? Because it supports a lot of different browsers. So like, and you can test various kind of applications using the UFT. So Water and Selenium, right? They are free, but there is a limitation of which applications you can test those tools. Water and Selenium, you can only test web-based applications. Okay, so you cannot test any Windows-based applications or any of the web forms, .NET Control, or anything like that. Okay, so this tool supports, UFT supports pretty much everything, any kind of application. Yeah, that's why I guess they charge a lot of money for the tool. Um, Now the UFT also has some limitation. It doesn't support certain technologies. These are back in 90s, they were popular. Obviously, it's a 20-year-old technologies. They don't support anymore. Some of the CRM software, ERP software, they do not support. Like a Siebel, PeopleSoft, BAN. The only thing they support is SAP, SAP and a few other software. But the older versions, they don't support it. That's what they meant. Okay. All right, record and playback, right? So now we'll dive into our first basically test here. So I'll show you guys, and then the way we'll do it, we'll build automation test incrementally. Okay. So you guys will, I'll show you demo. You guys will work through one exercise. We'll come back. I'll show you additional features. You guys will build on top of the exercise, and then we'll build the actual automation at the end. Okay. All right, so there are a bunch of slides you can read upon it, okay, later on, but we will talk as we go through, okay. So we'll stop here, and let me go back to the actual tool here. All right, so you guys all have this HP Unified Functional Testing tool installed, okay. I would suggest don't touch your laptop yet, okay, because this one you will get lost easily, okay. So I mean, then you have to come back and have to repeat a lot of things. So just pay attention here, okay. So this is a tool that we installed. So I'm going to double click on it. And depending on your computer speed, it might take a minute or might take 5 minutes. Okay, just get patient. Just have some patience. Okay, so first thing it will do is it will ask you for license. Okay, license warning. Since we all install it on Thursday, you have probably 28 days left on your license. For me, it's showing me 29 days. Okay, so I'll go and click continue. You don't have license, you can't install license. So click continue. Again, it will take some time to load up. So while it's loading, I'm going to change the display settings so that I can, hopefully you guys can see it a little bit better. Okay.
I don't think I have this.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Dilip, we need to install on this laptop, so I'll get you that. So let me give it to Dilip. Okay, as long as you're logged in, I think he will go and install it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So it will take like 10 minutes to install everything.
Okay.
Anybody else needs to install, or everybody else is good?
I think most of them they have it. Okay, so as I said, right, most of the tools. So we looked at SOAP UI, right? So you have something at the top, something similar to that you will have in this tool. You have file, edit, view, search, design, record, run, those type of menu options, okay? The important part is file here. Again, there is a concept of project, right? You always have to create it and group all your tests. So get familiar with that when you get a chance. Now, when I go file new, you will see a bunch of things here, right? So this is the one that we will focus on test because we are creating the automation script here. Okay, so I'll go and file new test, and it will bring up this dialog box. So here there are a bunch of different types of tests you can create as part of the automation. So we will focus on GUI test, but let me explain you what this API test is. This is exactly the web service test that we did using the SOAP UI yesterday. Okay, so this is exactly this is what it has the same features. You can automate. Basically, you can do the manual execution of web services here. I practically never use this business process test and business process flow test as part of the automation test because most of the companies they don't want to automate this business processes. Okay, there are very few companies who leverages this function. But this is where the GUI test, right? So this is where the user interaction, the browser-based functionality or anything like that, will automate here. Okay. So I'll leave it selected GUI test, and let's give some meaningful name here, and we'll work through some simple example initially. So let's say we are doing the login test, simple one, and let's try something else as well. Okay. Come on. All right, so in the login test, right? So what are we automating? Okay. So somebody can tell me what are our steps for login. So if I'm login as a super user, right? Login as a super user, I'm validating or creating or writing automation test for it. So if I have to do manually, what am I doing? So go to browser, right? Open browser and access our clone URL. Okay. Then what is my second step? Then enter username, enter password, and click on login, right? Um, okay, so let's try to simulate this manual test because this is what we are trying to automate, right? This is what we are doing. So I'll go back to my software here. So here I just created a login test. I've named it as a login test and click on create. Now, let me go and do it in a different folder. So it will bring up this empty window. Okay. So what this window is, this is where all your script going to be recorded or generated here, and it will be shown here. This is a scripting window which is empty currently because we haven't done anything yet, right? So first thing, what we have to do is we have to instruct our software to open a browser and go to the URL. Okay. The way you can do in the tool is if you go to the record menu item, record, and you go to the record and run. Okay. So this is when you get a chance, right? Make sure you play around with this setting here, record and run setting. I'll click on there. And for you guys, I think most of you will have this record and run test on any browser selected. Okay. But I'll go ahead and select this one, and here I can type in the URL QTP training dot cloudapp.net. Okay. I'm using for record and run. I'm just using Internet Explorer, which is fine. Then at the bottom you have two different things. Do not record and run on the browser that are already open. Okay. So what it means is if you already have a browser open, then it will not do anything, your test. So make sure you check that out. Okay. Because sometimes it conflicts with other things. Okay, when you have a browser open. And second thing you're gonna check is close all the browser when the test closes, when the test stops or closes. Now there are a bunch of other tabs here, right? We have to. This setting is under web. What type of application Rflown is? It's a web-based application, right? So that's where you have to go to the web. If you are testing mobile, then you have to go to the mobile application. Or if you are testing Windows-based, you have to go and set the configuration in this particular tab. Okay. But for here, we're gonna ignore because we are not testing Windows or mobile. So I'm just focusing on the web, and this is my setting, and I'm going to click apply, click OK. And so let's go back to my step here. So this first step, the way I showed you, this is how you have to set it up. Okay. The second step, enter username and password. Okay, what do I do, right? So here your record capabilities comes in the picture. Okay. So think through, you are testing it manually, same scenario, right? And we are recording it right now. So I'll click on this red button to actually start the recording. And let's see what it does for us. So it will actually open up the browser for us because we provided that setting, right? So it will go to this site here, and it stops right here on this page. Okay. So I have this my browser page here. Now a couple of things. Okay. When you are dealing with the browsers, make sure everything is set up to 100%. Okay. So when I say zoom level, you need to have 100%. So right now for me it's a 125, so it will not record and run properly. It will start failing. Okay, so I have to make sure it's set to 100. Okay, so I'm going to close at this point. I'm going to close my test. I'm going to wipe out the script. You can select and delete. Okay, and we'll re-record. After changing the 100%, I'm going to re-record. Okay, so I'll click on record again. Okay, now my browser looks great. I have 100% setting and everything is good. Now, when you are starting the record mode, right, this box shows up automatically. Okay, so we'll talk about this box. It's an important box. But let's go to our normal scenario here. So I'll type in the S training, click login. And let's see what it did with the test, right? So if I go back to my test here, so I'm going to see some actions here, something being recorded here, and I'll come back and talk about it. Okay, what we recorded here, right? So, and at this point I'm done with my recording. So I'm going to close the browser. Now your recording is still running because you see this box. Okay, so you have to make sure you click on this stop button to stop the recording. Okay, so I'm going to stop it, and let's see what it did. So we'll go back to our steps here. All right, so first step, right? We know we provided the setting, so this step was already done in the record and run setting, right? We give the URL and those things, so this one is done. Now, second step was entering a username, third was enter password, and fourth is click, right? So here, what it does is it captures the first step here. So it recorded this controls information. Now let's see what this one is. Remember, yesterday we talked about the IDs for having the HTML IDs, right? And the name of the text box controls. Let's go back here. So I'm going to open our browser and we'll go back here. See what it does. All right. So what I'm talking about is this is a box, right? Text box. This is also text box. So let's see their ID, right? What is the ID? So I will go to the inspect here. And let's see where it went. Come on. All right. I think my resolution is a little bit off on this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 75. Let's go here. Right click, inspect. Come on. It's showing me the right name here. Let me see if I have better luck with IE. Okay. So IE has an inspect element, right? So I'm going to click on that. Okay. Come on. Still loading. Okay. So this control, let's go back up here. This is the one selected. Okay. I think you guys able to read it here, right? The input name is this one. I have class here, and this is the ID, right? So name and IDs are pretty much unique for every control on the page. Okay. So if I go to different page, then the name will be different but every name and IDs will be guaranteed to be unique for every control on the page. All right. So what it does is the tool has to simulate our user action, right? What we are doing manually. So in order to do that, it needs to grab the ID of the control and find where it is on the page. Okay. So if I go back here, so here, this is our control's name here, right? That's what I showed you here on the home page, right? This is what it is. Okay, that matches with that. All right. So it found the control, right? But then now text box controls will be represented as web edit, the link, right? So this is a link. So it will be represented as link. Okay. Then you have a page. So this control is on whatever the page name is, right? So this control is on this page, which is home page. That's the title of the page. Okay. And then it is on the browser. What is the browser instance? So it has to figure out the hierarchy, where exactly this control is located on what page. Okay. That's how it gets a handout on that. And then the set is setting up the action. So it's going to be either set or click. Okay, we talked about those two actions, right? Either you enter the data or you click on it. So set means set some data, which is as training. That's our username. And then link has a click because that's the only thing you can do. So you grab the handle on the control and then do some action on it. So set or click. That's what you're gonna do. Now, why do I have set secure here? Right? The second one is a password, right? So if I go back here and say inspect element, this one. So it is this one, this main one, right? But its type is a password, okay? So by default, it's a secure mechanism. So that's why it automatically encrypts the password into some weird code, okay? So that whoever gets handled to this script, they cannot see the password. Okay, so it's recorded in a secure way. Now I can go back and change it. So instead of set secure, I can say set. By the way, tool will have a nice IntelliSense. So whatever you type in as a dot here, right? So you can change the set secure or set here. Okay, different actions. And here I can say training is my normal password. So I can store actually changing the password, putting it in my script itself. Okay. The third step is a click. Fourth step is a sync. We'll talk about sync a little bit later, but it automatically captured. And when we close the browser, it basically captured this action as well. Okay. Does everybody understand how it finds the control and does some action on it, right? So that's how the tool works. Okay. So let me go back and close out here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this browser. Let me close this browser as well. All right. And let's close this window for now. All right. Okay. So once I record the script, right, I'm going to save it. First of all, make sure you go and save it here. Okay. So otherwise, you have to it will not be saved if you don't save it, obviously. Now I record it. How do I execute it, right? So how do I play it basically in the automation task? So there is a run button here. You click on run, and it will pull up this dialog box. For now, just ignore this. But what it will do is it has this things by default new run results folder. Okay. So what it is it will store the results here of the automation test run. Okay, in this particular folder. But we'll ignore for now. We'll just leave it as is. Just click run for now, and let's see what it does. So now we simulated the automation test here. So it ran very quickly, right? Remember, when you are doing manually, it will take you probably a few minutes, right? Maybe 5 minutes or 10 minutes. But here, it went and executed within maybe 1 second or 2 seconds. Okay? Then it brings up the automation result dialog box here. This is the result of the test. And you can expand this left side, okay, so that you can see what it did. So here, it went through certain steps here, right? So I can see what it did here when I click on it. Okay, it says I set to S training, right? My data here, password was training, and I hit a login click, right? And done at this point. Now, it's supposed to pass or fail, right? Why didn't pass or fail? Anybody remember what you guys are doing manually? So why didn't tell me whether that my test passed or failed? Because we haven't told software to look for what makes it pass or fail yet, right? We just ran the script, we just captured. But in this scenario, right, we are talking about super user. So if you are doing manually, what would you do? No, I follow the step, but what is that my ultimate end goal? How do I know it's a super user? Login is successful. Right? So you have to tell the software to look for something unique about the super user homepage versus the dealer homepage versus anything else. Right? So we haven't told software yet to do anything. Right? So we will come back and basically we'll work through it. How can we instruct software to build on the pass or fail and other things? All right. But any question on the process here? How you can write a basic automation test? Nothing fancy yet, right? Can you guys create this one on your machine now? You don't have a choice, right? But you're gonna do it. All right, so let's fire up the tool now. Before we go a little bit further, right? A little bit advanced stuff. I want you guys to at least get familiar with the tool and do the same test. Okay, same one.